My name is Joshua Gray. I'm a poet. Several books out. Before I start, I had a mental note. I don't know if anybody here are Shakespeare fans and are on Twitter, but I just reduced Shakespeare's sonnets to tweets.
Oh.
All 154 of them.
Oh my God.
Bard154 is the hashtag, if you want to look that up.
That's incredible.
Okay, so this is Symposium. It's my newest collection. It's the book I had to write versus wanting to write. It is a book about melanoma and cancer in general. I am a survivor. And of course, when you're picking poems is the hardest part of the entire thing. But here we go. This poem is called Results Received. I wrote this in the initial draft the day I received my result. I do not need the dark gray duvet hovering high above to remind me this is not the first storm to come today. I woke up expecting sunny skies, passing puffs of clouds, just a memory of potential disaster. But one dim cloud had the nerve to dampen the sunniest point of my compass. The day turned overcast gently. Maybe I marched out into it because I had to meet it head on. Thunder never forced its way into my deaf ears. Lightning never gripped my eyeglasses. Occasional drops squeezed my shirt collar or slapped my knee. There was no one near me to feel the weight of my Adam's apple dropping ever so slightly down my throat. But I was in it nonetheless. The storm came unannounced. My socks were soaked. It wasn't until after I jumped from the tempest outside back into the dry house that I noticed how soaked I was. Clothes clung to my body as I desperately tried to remove them. I grabbed a dry towel and gave it water by passing it over my body, sighing all the while. Now, as I lie on my couch, exhausted, looking out the window, waiting for a storm I know is coming, I wonder how much I will experience the sensations as they come over me. Notice that I am getting drenched, or at least notice when I need to run, dodging each drop as it free falls above me into the security of a drained home. And with each poem, I have these statistics. So melanoma rates doubled between 1982 and 2011. That's from the Center for Disease Control. This year, 2015, an estimated 137,000 Americans will be diagnosed with melanoma. That's from the Melanoma Research Foundation. Butterfly effect. The birth of a butterfly signals another life lost to metastases. Every elegant monarch resting on a leaf of a turning maple is the spirit of a mother, a brother, another friend. With each flap of its bright wing, the monarch alters the delicate course of our lives. Every breath it takes is full of a departed soul. A feathered beast can lose its valor. The eagle is fragile and flees into the forest whenever it's been forgotten. But the eagle will always soar into the wind to carry us along the frayed path of a butterfly. Not all the poems are depressing. This is the finish off. After the white coats went their merry way, I decided to kill Cerberus myself. He growled as I drew near, unveiling those ivory teeth. I bit down hard on my chewing gum and sprayed fragrant oil onto each foaming head of the dusty gray dog. The scent soured his noses, and he dropped his heads and tucked in his tail. Then I pulled out the eau de legume pourri and threw it in his faces. He stepped back and yelped, fur burning, turning blood red, So I spit my gum onto one of his snouts, laughed at his grand old cinnamon mole. Finally, I drenched him with the extra oxygen that surrounded me. His head shrunk like bubblegum bubbles losing air. His red fur went as pale as those old white coats, and the three-headed dog turned so sterile it seemed he had taken off, tail-clenching belly, at the utter agony of joy. There are many alternative topical medicines one can put on their melanoma moles. I chose to go with frankincense oil, neem oil, and hydrogen peroxide to varied successes. That's Symposium. This is a book-length poem about my parents and parents-in-law, about growing up in the 60s, marrying, divorcing, all that. They all have a very interesting stories, and I thought they had to be put down. The beginning of the book is a whole bunch of different forms: Anglo-Saxon, Ancient Welsh, blank verse, and I'm forgetting the last one at the moment. This is Wildflowers. This is Ancient Welsh. This is the introduction to my mother-in-law's character. Up in the wing of New England, standing tall in the wall of the wild, the colors are bright even past nightfall, where the flora surrounding the roar of nearby rivers and trees display their many flavors for the butterflies, silent to the buzzing bees collecting their nectar from dawn to starlight. These towers, the tall flowers that flourish, are torn from their stalk by a girl walking by. She traces them, then places them in her press. She has done this for years, her flower press tearing around its edges, though she pledges to find another to purchase. On school days she'd wait, anticipating the weekend, go to the creek and quietly harvest the richest of hues. Sometimes bluets would even mindlessly find a new future. With their brothers or alone, her brothers fighting or stoning trunks, she plucked not meanly but fondly, green and gold and white as Fern Hill. The air could be chilling or warmed by the sun. The wonderful flora could take her in winter. I'm not going to read you the introduction to my dad or to my mom, but I wanted to read one poem where they've already met and are dealing with life. This is The Calm Before the Storm. Rick sat on the New York subway in a state of shock, as was every writer. He had never seen a city so subdued. The rock had moved, rolled like a boulder. Rick had been in Macy's looking at shirts when he heard the news. Everyone said the same thing with stunned silence. Doris, back in the abode, was finishing her first trimester. Did she know the doctor, the Reverend, another leader of justice, was dead? Rick felt he knew the day ahead. There will be riots, he said, and cast his spell. He eyed the numb passengers, quiet in thought. Go, Rick, gently to Doris before this grim night. Rick thought of his family, his, about to be born. He would father well, a vast revision to dial and call. Fatherhood reform, a type of parenting designed to last. Marriage was more mustard than mayonnaise, Rick once exclaimed. So when she spoke her thirst, she knew it would take some talking, and talking it took. But she wanted him, and he had a draft to dodge, so the hook wasn't hard. He took the role head on, balancing along the high ledge of national pride while whistling a Patriot's tune through the thick blade of green grass. Rick wanted Doris too. He didn't tie up his testicles just to shy the war, but marriage, He didn't know how long that would last. Doris had heard he was hemorrhaging tears. Rick's mother baffled them a little later on. She never did make it on the plane that day. She chickened out, checked into a motel room. She called to see about Rick, her voice loud and aloof. "By the way, your father's being reassigned. We're off to Italy." My mother, Rick thought, and here's the proof. So that's Principles of Belonging. This is Steel Cut Oats. I'm just going to read you one poem, maybe a tiny poem after that. I'm going to read you the introductory poem to this. This is called How I Learned to Cook. It's about food, farming, tradition, all that kind of cool stuff. After every soccer practice, I always followed my feet through the front door and into the kitchen to pour myself a glass of orange juice. Maybe two. My own stench and filth knew how to move me into the shower, so I'd stand under steam and watch the dirty water teem from my toes down the drain. Afterwards, my feet feeling more revived than beaten, I'd waddle into the kitchen where herbs and spices drowned my ivory soaked skin. Sounds of foods and smells of music made Mom move. The kitchen wasn't big enough for the both of us, but we'd make do. She would pucker her lips, snap her fingers, and bake her booty between stirs and chops, between breaths of song. Pop heard lectures in culinary linguistics by his own Dr. Dad, Ham 101. It was hot with no AC or fans when I sat in his flat, open windows barred above a French cafe where he made sludge. Sludge is what you get when you overflour and overcook the gravy. My sister never did care for the kitchen until she was smitten with a bit of bug tea and eczema. Then the tasteless cardboard gained ground and found its way onto her doorstep writing in paper bags. It was about time I took a culinary class. During the final show-off, my mother didn't realize the sushi was mine. Back home, I found the man she married finishing up a bowl of granola, his specialty. Because to him, nothing else, not even seconds, made any sense. Egg Moon. Half this book is the moons of the year based on a farmer's almanac. This is Egg Moon, which I believe we're in right now. That's why I picked it. X-ray and Ev, to see the eye of our vast universe, dense and full of the silent yet immense makings of perfection. This imperfect orb has provided springtime relief from hunger, thanks to a lovely thing we call sunlight. Steel Cut Oats. How much more? Okay. Thank you.